Hola, ¿cómo están todos? Sean bienvenidos nuevamente a Cowboys From Rock. El día de hoy, sin duda, es una de las entrevistas más especiales que he podido tener la oportunidad de hacer. Con nosotros se encuentra acá John French, conocido por muchos como J.J. French, guitarrista y fundador de la banda Twisted Sister. Hi, John. Thank you for taking the time to have a little chat with us. First of all, how have you been with this pandemic situation and the lockdown? How are you?
Oh man, New York City was hit very bad, very, very hard. So we lost many people in the beginning. Most friends of mine who did not live in New York didn't really understand how bad it was. You couldn't walk out of your building without a mask and gloves. I lost 6 friends. Uh,
Wow.
and if I and those are the ones who died, and about another 12 um, suffered symptoms that were anywhere from nothing, they lost the sense of taste and smell, to couldn't breathe and almost went into the hospital. So it was tragic, and still remains tragic. It's terrible, but we have to figure out a way to survive this, right? So
Absolutely.
for the other, but what we share, obviously, is the love of this music that we love. We can't go see it live. We can't watch concerts. Everybody's home. I have Joel Hoekstra from Whitesnake. He lives down the street from me, and the drummer for Lynyrd Skynyrd lives down the street from me, and they're all just home. They're hanging out with their wives, trying not to be divorced. Their wife
It's,
and their children.
and the lawyers is waiting.
Oh my God, yeah. So it's a strange time.
Obviously, taking to you could include millions of stories with Twisted Sister. But one thing I want to talk about is the other side of story of J.J. French, John French. You are not only the guy who plays guitars on Twisted Sister. You are a motivational speaker, a business magazine columnist, entrepreneur. Tell us a little bit when the transformation took place and why.
When I was a teenager, okay, I did some crazy things, and I was a drug addict, and I was a drug dealer, and when I was doing that, I was making a lot of money, but I wanted to be in a band, and I wanted to stop taking drugs and stop dealing. I know this is going to sound strange to you, but I stopped when I was 20 years old because I was going to die. So I one day just said, that's it for everything. No more drugs. And I never touched it after that. That was 48 years ago. Okay, never. After. So but I always wanted to be a rock musician, and I always played in bands. So when I got the audition to be in Twisted Sister, I said to them, I said, listen, I'm used to making money. I'm not going to starve. I'm not going to live in a basement and eat cat food. And they said, no, man, we make a lot of money playing bars, playing in the bars. And they showed me how the band makes money, and we made money. And it made me aware of the economics of a business, because it is called the music business. 2 words,
That's right.
music and business. Most
That's
people
right.
forget the business part, and it's the
That's
music.
right.
So I said, there's no reason to forget the business part. We can have both. And just because you're a business person doesn't mean you're not a real music person. But what it means is that you understand the meaning of the economics of the music business. The economics of the business are pretty bad, like many businesses. And you read all these autobiographies of musicians who lost everything. They didn't know
I
what
know.
was going on. Oh, nobody told me. I signed stuff. I didn't know what I was doing. And that wasn't going to be me. I just said, I'm going to know everything. So if you screw me, I'm at least going to know how you screwed me. It's not
At
going
least at least we will fight. At least.
to, so this is important to understand. Gene Simmons makes some sort of a, I think it because he talks about money, 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 money all the time, people find it a little disgusting. I don't need to talk about it the way Gene does, but I feel exactly the way he feels about it. He's not an idiot. He's a smart guy. And they went through a lot of bad times. And he learned his lessons over the years. And I did too. So that's really the foundation of I'm a New York City guy. So, New York City is, New York City. So you have to learn how to survive in New York City.
Something I found fascinating was the twisted method. You could give an strategic vision to any business based in a legendary rock band. That's very rare. Should every rock band apply his method from the beginning, no matter if they have a record label or not?
So you're talking about the TWISTED twisted method that I teach, which is tenacity, wisdom, inspiration, stability, trust, excellence, and discipline. Should every band? Probably. Will they? Probably not, because it takes a certain kind of person. But those rules that I developed and I wrote my book about, which is coming out soon, those rules apply to everything, all business, not just the music business. So when I started my motivational speaking career, I thought it was going to be the musicians. That's what I thought. I thought people would just hire me to talk to bands. But pretty soon, it was insurance companies, travel agencies, bankers. It was all over the place because what I was telling them was how to focus and succeed. But rock and roll is very sexy. Being in heavy metal is very sexy. So the stories are good because they want to hear rock and roll stories, but they want to see, if I was a successful shoe salesman, I don't think anybody would really care, okay? But because I'm in a band that everybody knows, that's the key. Tenacity, how much are you willing to stick to your goals? Wisdom, how smart are you? Very, very important. Inspiration is the fuel that you have when you have no money. All you have is inspiration. So, that's what fuels you. If money doesn't come in, eventually the inspiration will run out. I promise you, it will run out. But in the beginning, all we have is inspiration. Stability. Can you keep a band together? Listen, Twisted Sister went through 14 versions before the band made it. And I went through all 14 of them. And many of them were not good. But I stuck it out. Trust. It's very important. Your partners need to trust you. Excellence. We work really, really hard. I'll explain, and discipline, of course. So when a young musician says to me, JJ, I want you to come and see my band. And I say, how long you been together? And they go, 2 years. And I go, how many shows have you played in the 2 years? And they go, oh man, we played like 50 shows, man. You got to come see our band. And I said, really? You played 50 shows in 2 years and you want me to come and see your band? I say, I'll tell you what, when you get to 500 shows, let me know. I'll come and see your band. 500 shows? We're never going to get to 500 shows. I said, well, there's a good chance I'm not going to come and see your band. And the reason why is because in the first 2 years of Twisted Sister, 1973, 1974, we worked 5 shows a night, 6 days a week for a year and 3 quarters. That came out to 2,100 shows in 2 years. So when people say to me, how did you guys get so good? It's because we worked at it. We worked really hard.
Watch, rinse, and repeat is something that you have said a lot about being constant, giving you all to be the best. But today there is not a Sunset Strip or like the Eight or a circuit of clubs like Long Island or New York when you was on the first days of Twisted Sister. No band can right now have the number of shows that you have at the 70s, no? What would be your recommendation of the founder of Twisted Sister and the businessman, to have
Well,
success as a rock band right now?
That's a very good question. And here's my answer to that question. When I was 20 years old, the band started. And I looked around and said, what are the rules today for being successful? Like, what are the rules in 1973? And basically the rules were you rehearsed, you put a band together, and you played clubs. And you did that over and over and over again, and you learned how to be a good band, right? Those are the rules in 1973. I was 20 years old. And so I looked around and said, this is what I have to do. And I immediately looked at all the bands above me, because, you know, Twisted Sister started at the bottom of the pile down here. You know, up here is Jimi Hendrix and the Beatles. We're like way, way down at the bottom of the pile. I said, how am I going to climb up that ladder, that little ladder? Well, the only way I can be better is to, as much as I want to be Jimi Hendrix and Led Zeppelin, I got to be better than the guy next door. That's all I got to be right now. I got to be better than that guy. Then if I can get better than that guy, I'm going to look for the next target and be better than that guy. So if I'm starting out a band right now and I'm 20 years old, I would look around and I would look and see what bands my age are having any success at all. And you know what I would do? I would copy it. Because the truth is, I am not 20. I don't need to be 20. I don't need to have that answer. The 20-year-old needs to have that answer. And I guarantee you, when I was 20, if I asked a 70-year-old man, give me some advice, he would have given me some bullshit about the 40s and the dance halls and all that, which didn't apply to me, right? Which had no bearing on my life. I had a different set of rules when I was 20. The truth is, 20-year-olds today have a different set of rules than I had. But the brain power doesn't change. You just got to be smart enough to recognize what someone else is doing. Okay, maybe they're not playing shows, but if they're better at social, if they're better through social media, then get better at social media. I mean, you have to do whatever you have to do to climb up that ladder. So just look around and see what other people are doing. And man, copying it is the sincerest form of flattery. Don't think that copying it is cheap. The Beatles copied, you know, this guy, and Elvis copied Sinatra, and Sinatra copied Bing Crosby. You know, you always need something to start off from. So inspiration drives you, and you need to start observing. So again, if I was 20 and I wanted to be this in this business right now, instead of like going, how am I going to do it? How am I going to do it? I didn't say that. I said, that's what people are doing. I'm going to do that.
When we started at 1973, we was a heavy metal band. Now we are a heavy metal brand. I can name some bands that take this very seriously, like you said, Kiss or Gene Simmons, the Rolling Stones, Metallica. But the most of them I don't see that are as clear as you are. Okay. Why do you think that the band don't take this with the same importance as a pair with their music? Just the music, not the business.
Well, the music is always number one, because without the music, you have nothing. I didn't have to worry about the music. Dee did, because he was an artist. He wrote the songs. He didn't have to worry about the business because he had me. You understand? It was a partnership. And I think probably most successful bands are partnerships. I mean, look, in the Beatles, John and Paul wrote songs, and they had a great manager, Brian Epstein. And Metallica has got a great manager. You know, Cliff Bernstein and Peter Mensch are great managers. They're legendary. They've been around for 100 years. Kiss has a great manager, Doc McGee. So, and Gene's no idiot. And the guys in Metallica are no idiots either, you know. You know what? You can make all the jokes you want about Motley Crue. If you're around 25 years in this business, you get all my respect. I don't care if I don't like your music. It doesn't matter. You survive. I don't even care if it's hip hop. I don't care what it is. If you last 25, 30 years in this business, man, you get my respect. You work hard doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be successful. But if you don't put yourself in the position to take advantage when the opportunity hits you, then you're in trouble. So Twisted Sister went through many ups and downs, as you know, because obviously you've done your research on me, which I'm very grateful, and thank you for doing that. That's very, very
Oh, of
I'm
course,
I'm very
pleasure.
impressed. But you know, I say we were turned down more times than a bedsheet in a whorehouse. Like we got rejected and rejected and rejected. And every time we got rejected, it took something out of us. So people say to me, "How do you get over rejection?" That's a good question. How do you get over rejection? Well, you can either close up your tent and go home and give up and go enough, or you could think about the rejection and you can act on the rejection. And what I say to people is when you go through rejection, it's always a personal pain. So you should mourn a little bit because, someone told you you suck. And by the way, just because they tell you you suck doesn't mean you don't suck. You could very well suck for real. Most bands go, we don't suck, we're the best in the world. No, if someone tells you you suck, you may actually suck. So pay attention to the fact that they tell you you suck. So we get rejected, and then we think a lot about the rejection, and we think about what may have been the reason for the rejection, and then we retool the song or the show or whatever. We reapply the new method, and we go out again, and we always reinvent. So I say to people, I've been turned
That's the
down.
key word.
Yeah, I reinvent, which is the name of my book, as a matter of fact. So I will tell you in a second. So I just got the artwork for my book cover. You'll be the first one to see the artwork of the book cover. But the fact that
Amazing.
we were turned down more times than a bedsheet in a whorehouse, and we've come back more times than Freddy Krueger. The horror guy. So this just came today, and you'll be the first one. This is just the early artwork, but this will give you I hope you find this interesting because this is like the first one. So that's going to be. Can you see this?
Sure. A little bit up. Fantastic. Amazing.
So Twisted
Amazing.
Business, the soul of Twisted Sister, and the art of reinvention, because
Fantastic.
that's how that's going to be. You like the book
I
cover?
need that. I have to read that.
So I have a great co-writer with me, my mentor. So that's really that's the key, is reinvention. What people need to understand is sometimes a cynic will go, "Oh, JJ, it's easy for you to say. Look at your success." Well, my success came and it crashed, and it came back again and it crashed. It just crashed. I lost everything twice. So when people talk to me about that, what I go through is not what they go through. It's not true. It's not true. In fact, it's worse. Because the higher you climb, the worse the crash when the crash comes.
Absolutely.
It's really bad.
Absolutely.
And it crashed. Most people don't know when Twisted Sister stopped playing in 1988. That was only 4 years in Stay Hungry, and that was one of the biggest records in the world. I couldn't get a job. I had no high school education, and I wound up working at a pool hall, managing a pool hall overnight in New York City for a friend of mine who owned the pool hall and was really nice to me and said, "Listen, tell people the reason why you're here is because you own the pool hall." Like he told me, so I would not feel humiliated. And then I got married, and my wife didn't want me to get back in the music business, so I got a job as a stereo, selling stereos in Manhattan. But then I produced a band called Seven Dust, which you may or may not be aware of. I kind of was I helped create that band, and me and Mark Mendoza, my bass player, produced their album. But anyway, I didn't think that was going to be a success, though it was. And then they asked me to manage them, and I was doing so well with them that I quit the stereo store.
About 8 years ago, I read an interview with Jack Black from Tenacity, where he says something that got me thinking. Nirvana was the last great rock band. No doubt that statement could be controversial, but I understand the context. He said, and I quote, "When you think about rock at its origin, and you think of the Beatles and the millions of kids screaming as loud as they can and running as fast as they can toward the Beatles, there's no one, there's no one who is that kind of lightning rod, who commands that kind of power and has the kind of creative magma. Do you consider that there are bands today with the capacity of inspire rebelliousness like Twisted Sister at the time, like Metallica at that time, even Nirvana?
Well, that's a very good question. You're not going to like my answer. You're going to hate my answer. So when you ask that question, who does that? K-pop bands do that. BTS does that. NSYNC did that. Boys to Men did that. Taylor Swift did that. The Spice Girls, I took my daughter. I saw it for myself. They went freaking batshit crazy. So when you ask me, does anyone have that effect? Unfortunately, yeah, just not the people that you would like to have that effect.
Maybe.
But you can't deny it. BTS, you know that BTS just set some record for the most iTunes stream of a new song in one day. 200 million people streamed their new song Dynamite, which, by the way, is a pretty crummy song. All right, I mean, it's really garbage. I mean, but it doesn't matter that I think it's crummy. It really doesn't matter. I don't want to sound like my father either. When my daughter was 8 years old, she came to my office one day. She says, "Daddy, I want you to listen to this." And she has a Britney Spears CD, and she plays "Satisfaction" by Britney Spears. And I'm sitting there listening to this, and I'm going, "God, this is like the worst. This is like the worst thing that could ever happen. Like this is a terrible joke." So I looked at my daughter and I said, "Sweetheart, now that you bring this to me, it's a teachable moment. I'm going to play you the original by the Rolling Stones, considered by many people to be the greatest single in the history of rock and roll." And I play her "Satisfaction," and she goes, "That really sucks, Dad." And I'm like, "What?" Like, I'm going,
"Oh, you're there."
I said, "If I kill you right now, maybe a jury of my peers will find me innocent, She said, "What?" She said, "The Rolling Stones suck? Kill her. We won't throw you in jail." So at that moment, I learned a very valuable lesson, which is shut up and let every generation find their own. It's like religion. What's the truth? Like, what is the real truth? It's whatever truth you want. So I may look at BTS and go, "Come on, this is like garbage." But it doesn't matter that I say this is garbage, because they got hundreds of millions of girls around the world going crazy. Now maybe it'll be another band next week. That's not the point. The point is they created it now.
In the Spanish-speaking countries in the world, you have your own words for "we're not going to take it." You have your own lyrics, Spanish lyrics, for "we're not going to take it." Something like "huevos con aceite." Is that right? Huevos con aceite. Well, what do you say?
Y limón.
What?
Y limón.
We're going to add y limón in there? Let's confuse it, why don't we? Wait. We say, we're not going to take it one more time. And you crazy motherfuckers, sing "huevos con aceite," okay? Keep the lights on these people. I want to see everybody. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4.
So our last show was in Mexico. I will tell you this, and you should know this, but you probably do know this. The South American fans are the freaking most unbelievably crazy fans. If you ever get sick of this business, play for them. They will change your mind and turn you religious again. They absolutely go crazy. We play these soccer stadiums in South America, and the kids are 18, 19, 20 years old. They're not like 60-year-old fat dudes with
the new fans.
And you say to them, "Why?" And they go, we go to the hotel, outside the hotel. They're all waiting at the hotel, and you go outside and you sign everything. And you go, thank you so much, thank you so much. How come? We love you. We love Kiss. We love Judas Priest. We love Motley Crue. Like they love a certain, you know what I'm saying? A certain group of bands. They worship them like a religion. And I'm so grateful. The energy they throw back on stage is mind blowing. So before we played Argentina, we were in Brazil, and Brazil was crazy. But the radio station guy in Brazil said, "You play Argentina yet?" I said, "No." He says, "Oh boy." I'm thinking to myself, most Latin countries are very proud of their country. They're the best. We got to Buenos Aires. Oh my God. It was like the Beatles. It was like we were screaming. And let me tell you something. They were not just singing the songs. That's old stuff. They were singing the guitar solos. Nobody sings my guitar solos. I couldn't play my guitar solos because they were singing my guitar solos the way I played it 40 years ago. It was driving me crazy. I'd go up to the front and they'd be like they knew what I was supposed to do and I wasn't doing it. I walked over to Eddie Ojeda. I said, "Don't." I said, "If you're not playing that solo like on the record, don't go up. They're gonna drive you crazy." I am grateful the band came back, and I'm grateful we got a chance to play South America. And I want to be clear: Germany, phenomenal; Sweden, great; Finland, Norway, England, great fans. But there's something about the Latin fan base that's truly, truly spectacular.
The music business is not the same anymore. We can almost say that the radio has died. Nobody waits for the radio show to listen your favorite song, like you said about the Beatles, or the premiere of a video on MTV. Today, you follow the band on Twitter, you go to YouTube, you see the new video, go Spotify, hear a song. Nobody has the contact. Hey, I like that. I like that. Do you think that makes an impact of music to make people different? I feel more impersonal right now. I don't know. I was wrong when I was to buy a cassette to record my favorite song. Today, my phone is everything. My phone is my radio. My phone is my MTV. My phone is my fan page. I don't see any contact right now. It's more difficult for the bands.
It is, like I said, if you want it, but it doesn't stop people from trying to be successful. There's thousands of people every day trying to be successful. Thousands. It doesn't stop people from trying to be successful. So you have to just find out another way to do it. That's all. You have to come up with a different way to do it. It's not impossible. I just tell people, observe your playing field, make the adjustments you have to make for what you're seeing these days. And again, down there, it can be a whole other set of circumstances, because I'm not in South America, I'm not in Venezuela. I don't know how hard it is to play rock music in Venezuela. I mean, I don't know. I'm not familiar.
Well, I'm a drummer too. I was in a band. I make my record, but everything goes to the dark with the situation. The people can go out at night or late night because for their safe. Many people of my friends, they're not in Venezuela anymore. It's a situation very complicated, but well, I am doing my best with this kind of stuff. Maybe I'm not playing anymore, but I'm very satisfied with what I've done.
Well, that's a good thing. I really appreciate. I appreciate you having me on. I appreciate you asking me these questions. You did your work. You did your job. I have a podcast. I signed a podcast deal. So JJ French is going to have a podcast called The French Connection, and it's going to start in a month or so. So I'm looking forward to my podcast to go along with my book and everything else.
After Stay Hungry, history begins to change, right? If you could change just one thing in the Twisted Sister history, what would it be?
That's an easy question. The thing I would change the most, I would not have released Leader of the Pack as the single from Come Out and Play. Absolutely not. I would have waited. I would have toured. I would have gone back to England, do one more tour, of England on Stay Hungry. I would have come home, and we could have put Leader of the Pack on the album, but I wouldn't have been the single. I think Fire Still Burns should have been the single. That was the biggest mistake, and we didn't recover from that mistake. I'm happy I'm still here at the age of 68. If you would have said to me in 1973, so JJ, is Twisted Sister going to be around in 2020? I look at you and go, am I going to be around in 2020? But I don't think that Kiss or Twisted Sister or Judas Priest or Scorpions or Sabbath or Alice Cooper, all these are the bands from back in 1973, thought they would be around today. It's a testament to the quality of this music and the rabid loyalty of the heavy metal fan around the world, because the music was so disrespected by journalists, back in the day, in the 80s, it was disrespected. And yet, if you put aside the BTSs and the Taylor Swifts and all that stuff, and you just look at how much money heavy metal generates around the world in festivals every year, it's probably the biggest format of music. Because around the world, 100,000 people go to shows all the time to watch Twisted Sister and Judas Priest and Motley Crue and Ozzy Osbourne and whatever. So the problem is, what happens when we're all gone? That's going to be the problem. I mean, that's a real serious problem. Because when we were in South America, and I would ask the young kids there, you love Priest and Twisted Sister and Kiss, who do you like of the new bands? They go, we don't like the new. That's a problem. Because who's that new band? I mean, Slipknot maybe is that new band. There's a couple. Avenged Sevenfold. There's a couple of them. But like our generation, that is the bulk of this festival stuff. We're not going to be here in another 5 years. I guarantee you, we're not going to be here.
John, to conclude, we want to know what John French, J.J. French likes. We call it the Ascensions. Basically questions about your favorite things you can answer in a very few words, right?
Beatles, obviously, but I would tell you that AC/DC. The Beatles satisfy one half of me, and the AC/DC satisfies the other half. Okay, I covered both those parts. Look, Mick Jagger's a great friend. Okay. I mean, he's great. He's 80 years old, jumps around like a freaking rabbit. I don't know how he does it. That impresses me. De-impresses me. Very, very. I mean, Brian Johnson is a great frontman, but it's a different thing. He just does his thing. It's just Brian. Brian's like the nicest freaking guy on the planet Earth. I have to just tell you. I tell you a quick Brian Johnson story, okay? So Brian came on stage to play with us one night. So we did a whole lot of Roses, right, together. And it was great. It was amazing. And at the end of the song, he's backstage and he goes, "Laddie, that was great, Laddie. That was the best I've ever heard an audience scream." I looked at him, I go, "Brian, you're so full of shit." I said, "You happen to front one of the greatest bands on the planet Earth. Thank you for saying that, but really." So my bass player, Mark, says to Brian, "My girlfriend loves you. Call my girlfriend." So Mendoza gives him the phone, and he calls up, and she answers. He goes, "Hey, what was her name? I forgot her name." He goes, "It's Brian Johnson here. Just want to let you know. Thank you so much." And all of a sudden, she starts screaming. And he comes back to Mark, and she says to Mark, "Don't you get one of your drunk, stupid English friends to call me and tell me he's Brian Johnson? Fuck you." So Brian is laughing really hard, because this probably has happened before, but like, he's crying, like we're all laughing, because like I filmed it. We went back to New York. I said, "By the way, you were talking to Brian Johnson." She's like, "Oh." But anyway, Brian was like so nice. Someone else saw him do that and said, "Hey man, would you call my friend?" And he goes, "Yeah, laddie." And then someone else saw it. Next thing you know, there's 50 people online. He stayed there all night calling people.
Amazing.
That's Brian.
He's a great guy.
That's Brian Johnson. Okay, I love that man. So I will give him next to D because it's a different thing at all. But I love Brian. Boy, one record. The prayers come to mind. Thankfully, I have a lot of them. Like you can't see right now. The room is covered. I've got thousands of records in this room and CDs, and they all matter to me. But the Beatles are, you know, they just are. What can I tell you? They're it, and that's it. Okay, you're not going to understand why, but I fell in love with radio, like the idea of listening to a song, because of a song I heard on the radio when I was 11 years old. And I didn't understand why it was the #1 song in the country. I was 11. So the guy goes, #1, 1. It was a song called Hey Paula by Paul and Paula. A meal? Oh, well, you got sushi. Great sushi, yes. It's got to be great.
Okay.
It's got to be great sushi. If it's world-class sushi or a great steak, you know, like one of the two. And no one ever asked me about books. Isn't that weird? Nobody ever does ask me about books. I like historical books. You know, I like history. I love history, actually. My dreams that my granddaughter's healthy. You know, I have different priorities now.
For sure.
So I want my daughter to be happy. I want my daughter to be happy. I want my granddaughter to be happy and not have any of the physical problems that my daughter has. I want to live to be old enough to watch her grow up. You know, I didn't even understand what that meant years ago. Some really dumbass television shows, like and movies, like Weekend at Bernie's is a guilty pleasure. Watch that. You ever watch that movie, Weekend at Bernie's? You know anything about Weekend at Bernie's? It's
I remember.
30-year-old stupid comedy, right? Oh, tenacious. Restless too. You know, I am restless. I can rest for a while, but I get restless. I got to try to keep doing something.
I have to say, John, that this has been a great honor for me to have this conversation with you. Like I said, I'm a drummer, I have a band, but I am also publicist. I lead marketing of a brand about Latin America. I'm training in mentoring, and I have everything I hear today, to have to know your method is something very important for me. No doubt I'm going to put in practice and replicate.
I appreciate the time you've given me. Thank you so much.